Not what I intended. Not what I intended.
Right.
All right. So, luckily, before anybody came in and said no sound.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was just me. I was the
Whew.
only person in there.
Whew.
I'm the only one who witnessed your mistake.
Thank God. AscendantNomad
Which,
didn't witness it. He was already dealing with
no.
his own stuff. I was dealing with
Yeah,
my stuff. You were
it's just me.
carrying the show. You always carry the show.
And you know what that means.
Yeah.
I was the only witness. You know what you have to do. Come
But
get me.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to
Come
do
get
that,
me.
TBL. Please don't make me
You
do
know the
this.
code.
Don't make me
No
do
survivors.
this, TBL.
You were trained for this.
Speaking of Mission Impossible.
Speaking of Mission Impossible, what you said was like the first DVD you ever bought?
Yeah. Well, no, I got it for Christmas. Got it for Christmas.
For Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Someone gifted you a John Woo film for Christmas.
My mother. My mother gifted me a John Woo film for Christmas.
Did you shake her hand?
Mother.
Yeah.
She is very thoughtful, and in this, she was like, you know what? He likes those Mission Impossible movies. I'll get him one. So she got me that one, and I think she got me the soundtrack for it too, which introduced me to the Butthole Surfers. That's a good band. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Kind of opened up a few new doors for you, huh?
It was a very revealing point in my history. It was like, all right, these are the things I am now, and not
thank you, Tom
since
Cruise.
I've grown them. Thanks, Mom.
And here I'm thinking, like, what was my first DVD? I'm never gonna hear the end of this. I'm pretty sure my first DVD purchase was something I picked up with my mom and dad while we were out, and we just bought a bunch because they were like wholesale.
Yeah.
It might have been a pack of like 4 or 5 DVDs. It included Shrek 1 and 2. But I'm pretty sure you say that. I'm pretty sure in that first pack of DVDs we bought a little well-known Eddie Murphy flick called The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Okay, that is a choice.
Which is
I remember that movie.
Not a good movie, but subsequently became probably one of my parents' favorite so bad it's good flicks. Like they just unironically watch it almost on an anniversary basis and cannot stop laughing at it. And as such, I've learned to love it too. It's a beautiful car accident on a NASCAR Daytona 500 roadway. It's
brilliant.
Mwah. Anyways, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 287 of the Planet Destiny podcast, where we regale you with tales of Hollywood and Tinseltown and the movies that made us the people we are today. Mission Impossible. Franchise that surprisingly held up. Like, as much as I want to make memes about it, the last two ones were pretty
Tom
good.
Cruise, isn't it? He knows how to make a good movie. And even if the movie might be convoluted, he always puts his like 100% into it. It's always
he does. And it's weird because like now I'm thinking about all the different Mission Impossible films. There's what, 5, 6 of them? 7 of them.
Wow.
And Nomad is an expert on Mission Impossible. That was quick.
Listen,
he was quick with it.
He's an expert on many things. Mission Impossible was one.
It was my first like I guess franchise that I really fell in love with.
Yeah.
I think Mission Impossible 2. My dad took me to see it because he thought, I think 7 or 8 or something when it came out, and he's like, "Yes, you're old enough to see action movies, and you're old enough to see action movies with me."
Yeah.
So I grew up with Tom Cruise being one of my heroes.
Heck yeah.
It was a strange one. Then I found out about the Scientology, and that stopped. But
a little weird.
But still, look, hats off to the guy. I think Tom Cruise movies, Top Gun in particular, had a big influence on why I joined the film industry. So, leaving aside that one small detail about his life, which, let's be real, is more of a personal thing than an outward one.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, yeah.
It's separating the artist from the art there. The dude makes incredible films. He does.
Yeah.
Pretty much every movie he's in is a top-notch film. And Mission Impossible, I think, is one of those franchises that has really remained strong. I can think of the last 2 entries where a lot of times action films like this, they'll get into a successful kind of groove and then kind of use the same format throughout.
Yeah.
There's a lot of franchises that are known for that. I think a more recent one would be a lot of the Avengers movies and the Marvel films. A lot of the earlier films had their own distinct kind of style. They were all a little bit different. But when Captain America: The Winter Soldier came out, it completely changed the way that a lot of the Avengers and Marvel films were made. And in my opinion, really kind of revitalized the way action films were made, sort of the same way Die Hard did back in the 80s, where suddenly everybody's like, "Oh, this is the format action movies should follow." And Mission Impossible, that franchise, I think, has done a pretty good job of revitalizing itself. Where, like, I can't remember which one it was. It was the one before the Henry Cavill one, where it was basically M. Night Shyamalan, the movie, where it's like, this is happening, nope, twist. This is happening, nope. It was completely different from previous Mission Impossible films. And I can remember the first time I sat back watching it, I thought that movie ended like 5 times. Like, oh, this is clearly the end. Wait, no, there's more?
So, like,
wait, that was a mask?
They were edging you through to it.
Yeah. Just.
Are we done? Are we done? No, we're not done.
Nope.
Okay,
No.
all right.
Not done.
Here comes another twist.
Left to go.
No satisfaction for you yet. Still racing towards that climax.
So I think that was Ghost Protocol. I think that.
Yeah.
I remember that one because they introduced Rebecca Ferguson, who I'm madly in love
Right.
with. Don't tell my girlfriend.
Seems
And so it was funny that that movie came out. They're taking down some multinational conglomerate, right?
Yep.
And then James Bond comes out, Spectre, like 4 or 5 months after that. It's basically the same movie.
Same thing.
Yeah, just worse.
Yeah, it was worse, much worse. But really fascinating how well that franchise has kind of held up. And like when I think of franchises that not so much have outstayed their welcome, but have become a bit formulaic. Mission Impossible, as funny as it is, isn't one of the action franchises that comes to my mind with that. It's like, nope, no, that one, every time they do something, it's something fresh, something different. And I really appreciate that. Maybe it just goes to show. Tom Cruise, man, can make a good film.
He certainly can.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a pretty good introduction. Welcome, everybody. It's great to have you back.
Planet Mission Impossible.
This is now a Planet Mission. Listen, Mission Impossible had a couple of early games. I think there was one might have been on the Nintendo 64. It was crazy. I enjoyed it. I rented it multiple times. We could legit talk about Mission Impossible, but I guess we got a little bit of Destiny stuff to talk about.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Crucible stuff. We learned a little bit about crossplay and all that kind of stuff that we're going to be getting access to starting next season, which I believe begins on what, the 24th?
Yes.
August 24th?
It's the crossplay itself is slated to come out a little bit after that.
Right.
We didn't give it a date.
Early
but the season
15.
starts. Yeah, the season starts. I suppose as soon as Bungie show off the Witch Queen reveal.
Yeah, they're doing that thing where they they release a new season of content and also dump a bunch of information online like an hour before release, meaning the life of content creators is going to be hell for about 12 hours that day. As
I'm
everybody
really looking forward to that. I cannot wait.
It's going to be a nightmare, a beautiful, horrible nightmare. But of course, we've got a very special guest this week. The Crucible Doctor himself, Mr. AscendantNomad. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, absolutely, and it's fantastic to have you here. The multiplayer gameplay specialist himself, which, I mean, good lord, the conversation about multiplayer has been all over the place these past couple of months, and certainly going to be looking forward to getting your opinion on quite a few things moving forward. I've seen some of your tweets. I know what you've done.
Oh, no.
I know the hornet's
We're off
nest
to a
you keep
fly.
cooking.
He's read the Twitter. Shit. Sorry. I deeply apologize for the grievances I've caused you unwittingly and unknowingly.
Apologize? Listen, if they were to take a sample of my blood right now, it's 98% salt. I live off of the salt. It's beautiful. It's great. And so it's fantastic having you here because there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot to talk about. So it's fantastic to have you here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we've got Danfinity too.
Oh, hi. Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
You know,
Man with the best beard was relegated to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
it's slowly
very-
growing. It's slowly
It's looking
going.
good, man.
Well, I'm gonna become a mountain man at some point, and
Oh
we're
yeah,
just gonna have to deal with it when that time comes.
oil game is on point, dude.
Thanks, thank you.
Good stuff.
Came with the Sherpa pack that I got earlier.
Right, yeah, it all comes together.
Yeah.
And of course, I am the Black Link. And with that, let's go ahead and dive on into things. Starting, of course, with our guest, Mr. Ascendant Nomad. For those out there in the audience who maybe aren't affiliated with you, I'd love to give an opportunity for you to introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what it is you do.
Sure. So I am a YouTuber primarily, though I also stream on Twitch. And my whole shtick is to help people get better at the Crucible. And I have a particular knack for diagnosing people's faults with their games. So something we do on the stream a lot is we do gameplay reviews, where
Yeah,
people will submit gameplay and they will, they'll give us a little bit of context through like Discord. We have a whole thing in our Discord server where they give a bit of context about who they are, how they like to play, what exactly they're working on. Because some people work on different things. Some people are just trying to not suck in control. Others are trying to become the best script player on the planet.
yeah,
And there's a whole lot of variance in between. A lot of people are just literally, their goal is to go 3 wins, 5 wins in trials. So we
yes,
have a lot of people who come through who submit gameplay, and then on stream, what we'll do is we'll watch the game back, and then I'll try and pick out patterns in their gameplay, which
yeah,
is indicative of player behavior, certain player behavior that I've seen and absorbed and witnessed over the last 7 years of Destiny between the two games, and through two platforms as well, starting on PS4 and then now on PC.
right,
And then on the YouTube channel, it's mostly educational videos, tips and tricks, that sort of thing. The odd community commentary 1 or 2 times, feedback piece here and there. Actually, this season tried to put my hand in with weapon reviews, which
yep,
was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that, but the problem is that once you start doing weapon reviews, you start coming up against much bigger fish in the sea,
yeah,
which doesn't help you with your click-through rate or your YouTube algorithm preference. So we had to dial back those after realizing that like 90% of the time when our videos were being recommended, it was being recommended next to Astacross's videos, which is a
yep,
great compliment by YouTube, but
yeah.
also nobody's going to watch a weapon review after they've watched Astacross's one, unless it's like brand new and people
Yeah.
get curious.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They've already heard whether or not the weapon is garbage or nasty, boys.
yeah, it's nasty. And then comes along this posh sounding prick saying, well, actually,
Well, yeah, and you really do fill a really interesting niche there in that you're providing kind of a format and a forum to help people directly improve their Crucible gameplay. And I think one of the most important things you put out is probably one of your bigger videos. It's the 2-second rule.
yes.
It is a fantastic sort of breakdown of the state of mind that you need to be in
Thank
to
you.
improve your Crucible play. And if rather than me talking about it, if you want to take a second to maybe
Sure.
explain to the audience what you mean by the 2-second rule, because it
So
really
the
is
two
pivotal to Destiny.
So the 2-second rule, something I, with all these things, I sort of just discovered it by accident. Um, just playing Destiny 1 actually put
Yeah.
this in my head for trials, where basically I realized that if I'm in a position on any of the maps, in any situation, where, unless I'm specifically holding a position, or if I'm being told to be there for the sake of the team, for the sake of an objective or whatever, if heavy's coming up, for example, there's no point to staying still in Destiny. There's literally
Yep.
no point. So for me, it was like, okay, how long can I get away with staying still? And I thought that was a very cowardly mindset. That's not what wins games.
Mm-hmm.
The one game that I have in my head that forever transformed the way I played Crucible, we were game 7 on God, it was a Destiny 1 map on Mars. I forget the exact one. Not Firebase Echo. It was the other one. But anyways, we matched triple rec and Benny and the top dogs, and they rushed us with 3 trespassers. If you remember
Oof.
that gun,
Oh
and
boy.
we didn't know what to
Oof.
do. We just did not know what to do. They just
Mm-hmm.
rolled up on us. 2 of them were using trespassers. Another one was using Hawksaw to sort of
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
mop up from whatever they couldn't
The
kill. And
pulse.
there was
Yeah.
nothing we could do because they just kept pushing, pushing, pushing. And that's when I realized aggression wins games in Destiny in
Yes.
PvP, beyond anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of thinking about how much can I get away with not moving, it's instead how long can I stay still whilst moving forward? Like, so
Yeah.
there's a subtlety, but it's subtlety in approach. So for me, the 2 second rule really was born out of, okay, how long do I give any single particular moment to get a read, to assess whether I'm going to stay here or not, and what is my course of action moving forward. So the 2 second rule is, if no targets present themselves in my field of view within 2 seconds or less, I move away from the current decision and I take up a new one so I can see more of the thing. And just by proxy, by telling yourself, okay, you have 2 seconds to figure out if there's a fight here or not. If you have 2 seconds to figure it out, okay, there's nothing within 2 seconds, go out and go and find that fight. You'll just move around the map a lot more. You'll take up more real estate on the map. You'll make your presence known a lot more. You might die more because you're moving more and you're getting yourself in fights. But if you're dying, you're learning. More than sitting back and doing nothing. So 2 second rule, like the only caveat to this 2 second rule is sometimes you're in a position and you've just got there and you count down 2 seconds and then at 2.1 seconds somebody shows up and then you're like, oh shit, I'm out of cover. I'm dead here. But again, that's just like, once you play the game more and more, you realize there's some tells with how the map is playing, with enemy spawns, with objectives in play. You can kind of guess what's about to happen before it happens, and then then I have a whole thing on Game Sense, which took 4 videos to make, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable how important that notion is to a game like Destiny. Because you're right, Destiny is a game that really benefits from more aggressive, more mobile play. It's probably the most vertical shooter I've ever played in my life. And I'm a guy from used to play games of Quake and all kinds of things like that back in the day. And Destiny, it's all about the verticality. It's all about the positioning. And the 2 second rule epitomizes controlling an area and changing your positioning for advantage. If you're sitting somewhere and nobody's popping up around there, fight's not around you. Move somewhere else, take an advantage point. And just keeping that in your mind, keeping that active state of play in your mind, I think it's a huge thing for players to learn that I think really does just supercharge their awareness in the Crucible and of course their level of skill. It's a beautiful way to describe it. You did a great video on it, and I think it's an awesome kind of introduction into the sort of work that you do as a Crucible doctor.
It's always it initially started off as a thing to differentiate myself out of all the YouTubers out there doing Crucible help, but now it's become this own thing, Crucible Doctor, and it's almost a little cringe. But at this point, like, I'm a full-time content creator. It's all kind of cringe. So like, I'm just gonna own it, even though it makes me cringe.
It feels like, personally, like you and Fallout and like Cool Guy and Crit all seem like folks who have kind of taken up the mantle of like the Crucible radio guys. If like you remember like them from back in the day, like you guys are really trying to help people improve their overall Crucible game. And like what got you into the Crucible in Destiny?
Well, that's an easy one and a very lazy answer. Bungie, Halo.
Yeah.
Okay. Bungie and Halo. So obviously heard about it when everyone else did, 2011, 2012. Following it very loosely. Then the alpha came out, and I had just bought a PS4. So I, got into the alpha, and I was hooked. That was pretty much it. I tried everything out. I think we had one Crucible map or something. Or was there a Crucible in the alpha? Maybe in the beta. But
in the beta, there definitely is.
Yeah. The alpha was just the Cosmodrome mission, and then some people got lucky to go to the moon. And then the beta, the Crucible came out. And I think after that first couple of games, I was just like, yeah, this is really, really fun. And at the time, I was not jazzed with Halo 4. Like, just something about it didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
It felt like Call of Duty Light in a weird way. But there was something so unique and cohesive and fresh about how the Crucible felt in the hands of a controller that just hooked me. So that's how I got into it. And I was very crap for a long time. I was crap for a full year. And then Taken King came around, and I think there was a couple of weapons there that just really spoke to me, and I just went to the Crucible and wanted to keep playing. And that's when I started like becoming better and better and better. And I got into Sherpaing around that time, but I was a King's Fall Sherpa to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and then like I was like helping people, and that experience really helped me to be a Crucible Sherpa, where it was like dealing with all sorts of people from all sorts of walks of life. On PlayStation, obviously the player pool is much wider than it is
Yeah.
on PC. And on PC, you sort of have the benefit of everybody is more of a committed gamer. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to invest thousands of dollars to have a good setup,
Right.
whereas on controller and on PlayStation, Xbox, it's a couple $100. It sits next to your TV. You're people playing on the couch. People are playing it whilst their kids are screaming in the background. You know, like it's
Yeah.
people just hop on, right? It's a much more laid back experience, and you know, just helping people go through the basics of like jumping puzzles and mechanics and all that. It really helped me to dial in how much to elucidate, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yes.
enunciate and to just like break things down in simple English. Breaking complicated things down in simple English because King's Fall was a mechanic heavy raid.
Oh yeah.
And it was buggy for me every single time I played it.
Just a little bit.
Just a bit. Which then helped me with Crucible because I figured, you know, if I could do it for raids, why can't I do it for Crucible?
Mm-hmm.
So that was that.
Well, right on. I mean, that's kind of sort of a perfect way to look at it. Going in, starting that Sherpa experience with something like Kingsfall, which, like you said, was a very mechanic heavy raid. It was there were a lot of different fail states for a lot of those different
Oh my
encounters.
god.
Like
But I mean,
not
it was
real.
all worth it. The
Yeah.
wall for new players. Just stand here. Just stand
Ah,
here.
the dick wall.
The dick wall.
You
That
know,
was
it's all fun in
that,
games.
that made everything worth it though. Like
Yeah.
he had some real, it's just some great experiences with the dick wall.
It was great messing with new players in there until they get you back by not realizing they're the marked ones in the Golgoroth fight and blowing everybody up. That's the
Still,
karma, baby.
people still haven't learned because people still do that with Vault of Glass.
Yep. Oh yeah, just detain all your friends. It's fine.
Yep.
This is fine.
Yep. This is fine.
So that was your introduction to Destiny. I'm going to ask you a more incendiary question now. How do you feel about the state of Crucible in D2 right now?
There's Crucible in D2?
No, there's not actually.
Sorry, what's this? What's this Crucible you speak of?
PvP, what's that?
Oh man, okay. The state of Destiny, Crucible and Destiny 2 right now.
Yes.
How much time we got? No, I'm kidding.
As much as you
So,
got.
the Cliff's Notes version of it in as polite a way as possible because I don't want to get blacklisted. Needs work. Needs
work.
a lot of work. The big issue is the lack of updates, the lack of anything, just literally anything. A vendor update was nice in Season of the Chosen. A UI refresh that came along with that was also kind of nice. A weapon or two or three, not really cutting it. That doesn't count as content. Content to me is new things to do, fundamentally. Even though, you know, the questions can be raised about, can we have any other public event activity that doesn't involve picking something up and throwing it in, but that's not what we're talking about. You know, with Crucible, we haven't had any significant changes to the competitive ranking system since Shadowkeep. We haven't had a new original map since Shadowkeep. We haven't had updated game modes since forever. We got rid of a game mode, Countdown, rid of 11 maps, and replaced them with nothing. How Beyond Light shipped without a Europa map is, to be honest, very, very puzzling. At least just one.
Yeah.
But to be honest, maps wouldn't save it. Maps are considered perhaps the easier thing to do, which is complete rubbish if you know anything about game development. But like people are wanting something, and I think the furor over maps is just the community manifesting and just urging something to happen. So the reason Crucible isn't any good right now, or isn't particularly good, is because there isn't a real reason to play. There isn't any sort of lore reason for the story minded. There isn't an activity reason to do it because it's all the same activity. There isn't a competitive ranking system. Trials is beset by cheaters, is overrun by
Yep.
account recoveries. Even on console, like it's still sweatiest of the sweaties
Yeah.
showing up and playing against each other. Very inaccessible for the casual player, despite what people want to say about it being, trials should be trials, right? To which I say, well, I can do a Grandmaster, and I'm not a PvE warlord.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, like, it should be the same in my eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just been a lot of neglect. There hasn't been a lot of communication, which makes things worse. Every time they come out and they give us little snippets, like the Firing Range podcast and the State of the Game from Joe Blackburn. We take that and we take it as if it's a meal, but in reality, it's almost like leftover crumbs because
Yeah.
it's not really substantial. It's something that should be there, sort of on the border and the periphery of the general conversation, but that border and that periphery is the actual like conversation. It's the meal. Like if you have steak, mashed potatoes, carrots, and peas and gravy, what we've had so far is just the peas, and we're pretending
Yeah.
like that's the steak, and that's the issue. And because that's
Mm-hmm.
the issue, people have started turning on each other. They've been getting very, very nasty towards each other. They've been getting nasty towards PvE players, perhaps either trying to get into PvP or try to suggest something for PvP. It's just not because of the neglect and the ruin that Bungie have left PvP in. It's then turned the community into a wasteland of its own, and
Yeah.
it's impossible to have a neutral, educated, well-intentioned conversation
Yep.
about PvP for longer than the span of 2 tweets. So
Yeah,
that's the state of Destiny PvP. It's bad. And
it's
it needs
bad. And at the end there, you're absolutely right. It's become a hyper polarized situation where you can't have any sort of constructive criticism or conversation about where to move forward with the state of PvP in this game without it completely devolving into a complete shit show.
Yep.
And that's really really unfortunate. Hathematics there in the comment section, shout out to him, by the way, I think described something that you said really really well, in that Bungie hasn't done new maps or any of that kind of stuff, but adding new maps wouldn't fix the fundamental problems with Crucible right now. He says it'd be like moving into a new apartment while in a bad relationship. Moving into the new apartment doesn't fix the relationship. The fundamentals of your relationship are still bad. And that's something that we've been looking to hear more from Bungie for a long time on this exact subject. And while like you said, I liked when they popped up on the Firing Range podcast. I thought that was really interesting. We got to learn about numbers and the way some perks work. We got to hear about the people who were behind some of those perks. That was really cool, but we didn't hear anything fundamental to the issues at hand with Crucible right now and what their vision for it is moving forward.
Well, in fairness to them, I mean, they are just the weapons team, and they only handle one aspect of things, whereas and on the weapons side, like it's very hard to say they haven't been absolutely killing it. To be completely honest, like
amazing stuff.
The only real outlier now is grenade launchers. So then the weapons team are not the same as the sandbox team, to my understanding. Like there's two different departments, and then you have the content teams with multiple S's, which we haven't heard a peep out of, and we probably won't hear a peep out of because they're managing PvE, PvP, all of that, But hey, Trials is supposed to get a rework in season 15. Let's see.
Yeah, and I just think looking forward to seeing what's going to be done. You're right, they are going to be redoing Trials. They're supposed to be revamping Iron Banner in some way, shape, or form. Who knows what's going to come from that, but looking forward to hearing more. But rather than focus on the negative aspects here, I'd love to turn the conversation to what you'd like to see changed in Crucible. What specific aspects, what sandbox things do you think would make a more fair environment? I know you just mentioned grenade launchers, which are an outlier right now. It's funny, we keep swapping out top performing grenade launchers. Oh, Mountaintop, just nerf Mountaintop. Now blinding nades. Oh, well, oops. So where would you go?
Well, no matter what you do, and in the continued life of Destiny 2, there's always going to be some person saying, this is cheesy, this is overpowered, this is no
Yeah,
skill, all of that.
of
And it's
course.
mostly just 14 to 15-year-olds who think every FPS needs to be Valorant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
And like, I mean, like this sort of comment would be considered incendiary, but
Yeah.
it's just running the community, being a voice of PvP, which is still strange to me. Like I hear everybody's opinions, I read everybody's comments. I spend more time reading YouTube Studio than I do the New York Times. And
Yeah.
it's like honestly, it is getting to a point where it's very cyclical and everybody's like angry about everything.
Yeah.
And it's not going to go away anytime soon. So when it comes to balancing the Crucible and all that, grenade launchers to me are a significant outlier because they're one of the few archetypes that don't have a hard counter. Because when they like when you get shot by a grenade launcher, you actually do not need to be directly hit to be damaged, and I think that's a huge problem. I don't like the blast radius of them, and should they be able to one shot you? Yes, because they're special ammo weapons, and all special ammo weapons one
Right.
shots. In the sake of balance, that should be that. But if you see somebody with that red glint with a grenade launcher jumping up in the air, and you're not in cover or you're not running away from it already, you're pretty much dead because those things launch at such a high velocity that it's very hard to make any sort of course correction, especially
Right.
when you take into account blinding nades, proximity detonation, or even spike grenades, and just somebody who knows how to aim. So my big change to grenade launchers would be blast radius halved, velocity halved. That would be my big thing. Um, with respect to everything else, I think we're in a pretty good spot. All weapons told. I would like to see some forgotten archetypes come back, like 450 lightweight pulse rifles, adaptive 900 RPM SMGs. Those things were nasty. Hero's Burden,
They were.
that archetype.
Stochastic variable.
But also something that the weapons team, I think, have alluded to a few times is that there's so much in Destiny. There's so many archetypes you cannot balance for all of them without leaving some behind.
Oh
and
yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons they got rid of 150 RPM hand cannons. It just had to happen. And to be honest, I didn't know what to think at the time. I completely agree with it now, especially if it leads to Bungie innovating for Witch Queen for new weapon archetypes. So all in all, I think the Crucible's quite balanced. But here's the thing: is the biggest thing I would change to the Crucible. The biggest thing is to have a different game mode that does not fundamentally boil down to kill more of the other people. Because if there was, like, for example, we had zone control. Okay, zone control was a mode where you could only get points to win if you had the zones. It was more proper. And if your game mode revolves around holding a point, suddenly Well of Radiance becomes meta.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suddenly Ward of Dawn becomes meta. I mean, it kind of is, but like suddenly there's a lot more defensive builds that become very, very interesting. Stasis becomes near unbeatable.
Yeah. Wither Horde becomes a problem.
Horde, exactly. which has been popping up here and there, partially as a meme, partially because it's very effective. But basically, changing the reasons, changing the way people approach games is how you change the meta. And to get people to change their approach to games, you have to change the why. And if everything is Slayer, then there's no real variance in the gunplay. It's just different speeds at which it happens. Elimination is still kill everyone before they kill you. It might be more drawn out, but it's the same formula. Control is the same way. Survival is the same thing. Rumble is the same thing. All of it is control, and all of it is Slayer. But you have zone control. You might have Rift. You could have Sparrow Racing Lead. But you could have all sorts of different things. And I think just having different game modes in the Crucible would make things so much more interesting, even if it was just the current maps. Just give us something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So more objective-based game modes where actually completing the objective is more beneficial than just slaying up.
Yep.
Rather than being, sort of a side benefit to just slaying up. Whereas, stuff like Control right now can be, you can overcome not having all the points if your team is just demolishing.
Sure, yeah.
So what type of objectives would you like to see? Were you a fan of Rift back in D1?
I was, but I think a lot of people look at it through rose-tinted glasses because it was one of the least populated playlists in Destiny 1.
It was.
And people forget that. And they axed it because it wasn't popular. It was good if you were in a stack, and it was bad if you were solo. Sound familiar?
Yeah. About
Anyways, Rift could be interesting. Capture the flag is a very classic thing that should just come back. Do it like Halo, where you can't use your abilities, like as if you were like encumbered, or what was the debuff in Crota's End? Weight of Darkness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Weight of Darkness.
Something
Slowed you
like
down.
that, where you can't do anything except for shoot, hip fire, or shoot with your gun. And then people have to play Get Down, Mr. President around you. King of the
Right.
Hill could be really fun in Destiny with all the movement
Yeah.
abilities. I think that could be really, really cool. I want to see Countdown return, but I want that as a core game mode. Because I think the reason Countdown was not popular was because it was so vastly different to everything else in the Crucible, because everything was just Slayer. We did this when we were doing scrims in our server. We had Clash, Countdown, Elim, and people hated going from like Clash, which was really really free flowing, to Countdown, which was very
Yeah.
passive and objective based, and then Elim was sort of just like everybody knew what it was because it was trials. But again, Slayer, objective Slayer. We need more objectives. So, yeah, Countdown, Rift, King of the Hill, Griffball. I'm just spitballing right now. Yeah.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, it always kind of struck me as a bit funny that Bungie went from the company that really not necessarily pioneered, but made a lot of those objective-focused game modes really famous in Halo,
Yeah.
to incorporating basically none of them outside of, you know, the basic Slayer concept in multiple flavors in Destiny. I think King of the Hill or something. Call of Duty it's similar. There's a King of the Hill game mode and a Hardpoint game mode where, you know, the hill changes location, so you have to keep moving around the map to stay on top of it. I think any of those, especially with the movement system in Destiny, would be a lot of fun to do. King of the Hill in particular would be really, really fun. Capture the Flag, I think, would be really, really fun. And they have the tools necessary to do it. Shoot, I could even see a King of the Hill or a Capture the Flag game mode where you can throw the flag. Like, that's the only thing you can do. So if people are coming for you, they already have the mechanics for tossing things to your teammates.
King of the Hill, Lacrosse edition.
Lacrosse edition. So
Yeah.
it does strike me as a little weird that, you know, we're 7 years into this franchise, and while they've experimented with stuff like Crucible Labs and a few of the game modes that came out of that, they really haven't pulled any of those classic OBJ game modes, even from their own past. And that's always struck me as weird.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what possible explanation could be aside from someone higher up saying, "Hey, let's not do this now because we have something bigger coming out later," or
Yeah.
you know, let's just not do this because we have to focus on PvE, which I get, but we don't know, and anybody pretending to know is lying. Like they're
Right.
very very hush hush about this. So
Yeah.
I just hope it changes soon.
100% agreed, man. 100% agreed. Well, all right. With that, what do you say we go ahead and dive on into some of the news for this week? Because we got a lot to talk about. We had a rather meaty TWAB drop this week, in which Bungie spent most of it describing the upcoming crossplay system that we're going to get access to shortly after the release of Destiny 2 Season 15. This has been something we have been talking about a lot on this show over the last year, really since Bungie announced it. And oh boy, I cannot wait for this to go into effect, because it's going to provide such a benefit, not just for the PC player pool, which is where I'm at. I run into the same 5 people every Crucible game. It's going to be amazing to be able to partner up with people, run raids with my friends on PlayStation, on Xbox, on Stadia, and all of that kind of stuff. And we're getting really close to it coming in. And Bungie, they talked about a lot. I think they talked about how names are going to work. Like, you're going to have a universal account name and your Bungie name. They talked a bit about... Oh man, rest in peace. Some of the best Steam names I've ever seen.
There's a whole section of my Discord that's going to have to go.
No.
That's called
you...
that's called names I saw on Steam, and very sad about it.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Steam user Marasov's butt cheeks with the gunslinger symbol. Not going to be a thing anymore.
Gunslinger.
Yeah.
Goodbye, alternative universe OJ.
The juice.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, they talk about that, and I don't have the TWAB up in front of me, so I couldn't go through all of
Oh,
it.
I
But
do.
oh well, good, because there was one really interesting thing that I saw in there, in that you're going to be able to curate sort of like the invites you receive, which was interesting. So like if you're sick of getting invited by a certain person to go run trials, you can like filter that out.
Brilliant. Shadow ban
Brilliant.
in game.
Brilliant, Bungie. Excellent work.
So yeah. Let's we'll start from the beginning. Outside of well, with the Who Am I section. Um, so they talked about how the new system, in a crossplay world that also supports cross save, it quickly became clear to us we had a guardian identity crisis. We didn't want the name over your guardian's head to change based on where you logged into the game. We felt this fought against the fantasy of who you are in the new unified Destiny community. Even more concerning, we didn't want the names of your friends and clanmates to change based on where they logged into the game. Having to keep a who's who cheat sheet of your friends' names didn't meet our effort bar for crossplay. As such, we're converting everyone's name over to an identity that will remain consistent across all platforms you play from. We're calling this your Bungie name. While this will cause a one-time naming reshuffle, we feel this is better for everyone in the long run. Here's how Bungie names will work and look. Your Bungie name is like your player name with a hash and a numeric afterwards. So very much like how you would see it on like Xbox does this now with their gaming tags, and
Blizzard does it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Discord does it. Like it's a fairly easy naming convention. It means that like there's not going to be a gold rush for like certain names either, because the hash at the end will add that little extra bit of identity.
Right. Which, makes sense. This is kind of similar to what Activision had to do in order to get crossplay working for their games. You basically link up your PlayStation or Xbox or PC account to a universal Activision sort of ID with their website, and then you get your username gets a numerical added to the end of it, and that's what people add. So like if you want to play with somebody on Xbox, they add your Activision ID, and that's how you link up with them. So it made sense that's the system they're going to be going with here.
Yeah. Pretty easy peasy overall. The roster experience is that's the more interesting one, because I have questions about that. The Bungie roster experience has always been an essential part of our game. For crossplay, we wanted to deliver the same simple experience no matter where your friends might be playing. To make this happen, we created a system to bridge platforms called Bungie Friends. Now, we didn't want to add considerable complexity, so we'll still find all your friends in one flat list. To make it a bit easier to find a specific friend, we've also added a platform filter. This is what you're talking about earlier. You can still see just the friends who are logged into that same platform as you. You'll still be able to see all your clanmates across all the multiple platforms. And finally, with the launch of crossplay, you'll be able to see anyone who's online and team up to go earn your clan rewards.
Which is neat. I like that.
I like it too. I wonder. So I know one of the limitations of Bungie.net was that you could only, I think you could have 100 friends on Bungie.net previous to this. So I'm wondering if they're just doing away with that entirely, or if it's like, or if this is just a new system.
I'm not sure. I mean, because it's the Bungie.net account. I don't know. This seems the way they're branding it as Bungie Friends. I'd assume is a different system.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They
Yeah.
didn't really kind of differentiate that there.
Yeah. I mean, the Roth or the friends list on Bungie as it is now is probably like a holdover of the Halo days. Just the same way like some of the Clan Alliance stuff was from back when D1 launched. But I want to see what the limits are. If they're going to limit you on how many people you have, cuz like on PlayStation, I think I still have friends on there from back when I streamed Sherpa stuff for Destiny Tracker.
Yeah.
Like that's ages ago. And I I mean, maybe I could prune up some of my lists, but is that going to break something?
Right. And because they say that you'll be able to log on to your Bungie.net account and move your friends on a specific platform into your Bungie friends list so that they show up universally. Maybe it is linked to the number of friends they have on Bungie.net. So maybe you can only have 100 Bungie friends, which means you're gonna have to do some curating there, buddy. Who's gonna be exclusive enough to get into the Danfinity nightclub there?
Guys, we're gonna do it all by how many people can give me bits on Twitch.
Ooh,
that's how we'll do it. It's pay to win. It's definitely pay to win to be
Pay
on
to
my
win,
roster.
baby. Pay to
That's
win.
what
Let's
it's
go.
come down
Let's
to.
go. You got $5? Toss it my way.
I'm down with that. Get on Dan's friend list.
This is some horrible appropriation of gaming industry practices for the express purposes of entertainment. Not okay with this.
Listen, it works for EA. It can work for me.
But are you EA? Are you?
Damn, he's caught on to you, TBL.
But I mean, I'm trying to think of all the people that I have added on, say, Xbox and PlayStation, and it's like, that's a lot of people.
Just be like, some of you gotta go, man. Like, I don't know who the hell you are. You're not gonna. We haven't played or spoken about. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, for me, it's the same thing as my like people I went to school with in university. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll hang out with you, but like, we're not the same people anymore. We're not the same friends.
Right.
Right.
Bye bye. And for me, I mean, I'm very ruthless about that. I just sort of take a fresh slate, and I know the people I want to bring over immediately. But for the people that are sort of in the background, tertiary, secondary characters, just thank you very much.
And well,
I'll hit you up.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, it's not like they go on to talk about this later on in the article. You'll be able, they're adding a friend search feature to the roster page as well, so that like you can invite people without having to have them on your friend list. So which you can do right now on PC on the Steam version. You just /invite whatever the username is, and you'll be able to do that in game on console, on PC, all across the board when these updates go live. So I guess you technically don't need to have everyone in the world on your friends list to play with them. That's just going to be the quickest way to access.
But what if I want them all to be my friends?
You're like Mega. He had like 500 friends. And
I just don't know how to say no, man.
List. Yeah.
Don't know how to say no.
It's all right. You just got a big heart.
Gotta remember that at GCX next year when you buy me a drink.
It's just so hard. Anyways.
Hey, you want to buy me a drink, Dan?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, is that how he gets on your Bungie friend list?
This is how I got
Ascendants.
This is how I got into credit card debt, guys. All right.
Yeah.
So
Should I just ask you for another set of Crusette oven?
I can't do it again. I can't go down this road. This was a dark road last time. Leveling the playing field. In crossplay, we're striving to create a global community of Guardians. At the same time, crossplay enables us to ask a ton of questions about input methods and how we create a level playing field in competitive modes. While the following might not be the answer forever, it will be our approach for matchmaking in competitive modes, Crucible, Iron Banner, Trials, and Gambit as cross-play launch. PC players will match with other PC players. Console players will match with other console players. Note that Stadia will be in the console pool.
Easy Trials runs forever, boys. Forever.
And then fire teams will be any combination of PC players and console players that will match in the PC player pool.
Which it makes sense. I happy to see that there's basically no restrictions on PvE matching. You're playing PvE, you can get thrown together with anybody. That's the way that should be. We all saw this coming for PC because not
superior platform. Sorry.
Listen, baby.
Something got in my mic. I'm so sorry about that.
Sorry, it's just that glorious PC master race, baby. What can I say?
I mean,
I'm playing at 200 FPS.
They kind of had to. Like, you cannot reasonably expect. Bearing in mind, also, this highly suggests that Xbox One and Xbox Series X, like last gen and current gen, they're going to be matched together, right?
Yeah.
So there is no way in hell you can expect anybody with a mouse and keyboard to be given a serious challenge by somebody on a controller with 72 FOV and 30 FPS. Like that was just too much.
No.
That's too much. So yeah, these changes make complete sense.
Yeah.
That being said, what you said, Blacklink, about Stadia and console, that is Stadia MNK. You know, admittedly, also same console FOV, but with 60 frames per second, provided that you're not too far from a data center from Google. And yeah, there's going to be no reason to do trials on anything other than Stadia, which is great for Stadia.
It's funny. I know so many people who do their trials runs on Stadia every week now, and like it's just going to be that number's going to shoot through the roof. I almost have to believe Google was like, Bungie, we'll slip you a $5 under the table. Put our people with the console players.
Yeah.
Good. We'll use that money to pay PlayStation off so we can do crossplay with everybody.
There we go. It's dirty Google money paying for this whole thing.
It was all a conspiracy. I knew it.
So yeah, the Stadia players are about to experience, Stadia's problem right now is it's really small player pool. Like who play on PC already have a somewhat limited player pool. It's really small on Stadia.
But you know what? It's always been a very nice experience.
Yeah.
For me, anyways, because I do, not to ego, but I do get recognized there on occasion, and everybody is everyone sends very, very lovely messages, and because
nothing but the nicest.
Yeah, people are so tight knit there, and everyone seems to know each other. Everyone's on everyone's friends list.
Yeah.
That it's just a very healthy community. Now, on occasion, you get one or two, bad apples, and they send some nasty things your way, but the community is so it reminds me of like going to small town Canada and just like showing up to like a farmer's market, and just everyone wants to know your story and be your friend. They have all the time in the world. It's really, really intimate and cool like that. So if they get an influx of people, I hope that they keep the vibe. They see the rules on the door. They take their shoes off.
Yeah.
And everyone has a good time. But obviously, if it's trials, that the chances of that happening are slim to none. Let's be real. Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. They do note that this may be subject to change in terms of PvP matchmaking. The only other way I could see them changing this is if they made it input based. That's something that I think Fortnite and Call of Duty do.
Yeah.
Where they have mixed player pools between PC and console, but it's based on input. If you're playing on PC with a controller, they match you with other people who are on console with controllers. If you're playing on console with a mouse and keyboard, it matches you with PC people playing with mouse and keyboard. That's the only other change I could see them making here, but. This, of course, this was coming. We all knew that they were going to keep the PvP pool separate between PC and console.
Yeah,
and that would be the next logical step for me. But you need to boost the player population big time, which means boosting the reasons why people play PvP, which means acknowledging PvP exists.
Yep. That's again, you can't put a Band-Aid on a broken leg and fix it. You gotta reset that bone, baby.
I mean, it depends. How big is the Band-Aid?
I've seen some pretty big.
It's 2 years long.
Damn!
What?
Dad Kennedy with the jokes.
August 1st, 7:57 p.m. Dan, it's the saltiest comment. And that was low key salty, underhanded black girl salt levels right there, Dan. That was whew. That was the turn your head up, drink your tea.
Yeah.
A 2-year Band-Aid.
I can already see the camera in the corner like cutting to Dan, just like zooming in suddenly.
That was a Mean Girls hit.
Also, PvE modes, there will be only one global matchmaking.
Yeah.
Which means there is invariably going to be looking for one more. We are all console people looking for a PC player to out DPS. I'm just really excited for the new elitism that's going to come from the LFG groups from this. It's going to be very creative.
Especially considering some of the weirdness that has happened since Bungie's moved to PC.
Yeah.
With like certain weapons either overperforming or underperforming based on frame rate.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward.
Go ahead. We're doing that with spectral blades.
Yeah.
You know this, right?
Go ahead.
So spectral blades, basically, you can lunge further depending how many frames you have.
Aura's talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very, very noticeable thing. Like we capped the frames at 30 FPS and did the console thing, and we went from the back of Midtown Spawn, on the A side, so right up against that wall, and then went to the bridge and the heavy spawn, and we just stopped out after the heavy spawn. And then I unlocked the frames, basically told the graphics card to go nuts, and
Yeah.
went nearly all the way into the other spawn with the same super.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I remember that's something Aura has brought up on this show before, but I've never done any testing with it. He's like, yeah, higher your frame rate is, the better Spectral Blades performs. And it's like, I cannot wait to see all the new ways Telesto is going to break things once we have cross-platform compatibility. But yeah,
Telesto will single-handedly bring down the entire network architecture. I think, Telesto is just Tanix in disguise. I'm pretty sure. He's never
he
really
keeps
dead.
coming back.
He's never really dead. There's always going to be something.
His heart will go on.
That explains why the why the gun keeps breaking everything. It's Tanix. He's just has no house except in Telesto.
We just give it another ornament called the Betrayed. Just like Telesto, the Betrayed.
He's more machine than Elixni now. Why not just have him upload him? So it turns out he was in the Telesto. The Tanix is inside your vault.
The next time.
Sorry, Dre, in your chat. Looking for 2 more. Grandmaster Nightfall must be under 60 FPS to not get one shot by the Cabal Colossus railguns.
Oh yeah.
Man, this whole thing has made me rethink how we do matchmaking in our Discord community, because it used to be platform, right? It used to be just PC, Xbox. Now it's activity. And it has added so many more roles to the Discord overall.
How do you manage that? At some point, you just have to be like, "This is just go here and do your good luck. Just here."
The same way you manage. So I added time zones, plus and minus GMT into the Discord as well. I had a lot of time at work, and so. I added all those in, and somebody was like, and I found this slick little map to put in so that people could type in the name of their city. It would post it on the map, and then they could look it up and see where they were there. Apparently, it was wrong, and so people were like, "How will I ever find what GMT minus and plus I am?" And I was like, "Okay, use this site, Google.com."
Oh my god!
Brand new site. Fresh off the press.
Brand new site.
So how is that going to change your work Sherpaing, Dan? Because you do specific days where it's PlayStation helps, Xbox helps. It's just going to be universal help.
Honestly, it just becomes help. It no longer is because when all platforms have the same ability to be together, it just then at that point is help flat across the board. You don't need to with PvE. You don't really need to worry about that kind of stuff because everybody's basically shooting at the same boss that's going to stomp you anyway.
So then so when you're doing your helps, what do you ask of your potential students or helpees, or would that change now based on the platform? Do you bring certain requirements from other platforms into the general category, or?
See, I don't generally have any requirements other than if you have time, I'll help. If you're wanting to do this thing, let's talk about it a little bit first, because like today we did a lot of GMs overall, but that wasn't. That's really well, do you have a blinding grenade? Cool. Do you what class do you want to run? And then occasionally I'll show them where I like to do DPS from. Lately, so there's that one room where a knight used to spawn up. In D1, that was a pain in the ass, or was it an ogre? It was an ogre, right?
It was a knight. If you stood up there, it would spawn a boomer knight.
Yeah. And so,
I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's where I spent the better part of yesterday afternoon.
On the right-hand side? Yeah. So there's that one, and I found that one over here, but the platform directly across the way, where Novoto will hang out up there, and there's a box in the way. That's what I was using most of the time because there's just a large platform that you can go left or right on. The ads can't jump back up there. You can just you're
Go to town.
Yeah, exactly. She's plain view. You don't have to hide behind a wall on the left hand side. Like you're fine. It's whatever you want to do is fine because I think at the end of the day, like I think you touched on this a little bit. It's like I do GMs and I'm not some PvE god. I don't think Destiny's that hard of a game. When it comes down, well, when it comes down to like the basic mechanics.
Controversy.
Oh man, am I the Salt Lord now? Is this where we are?
Right.
Is this who I am?
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Dan Finity. It was a pleasure to have you.
It's not that tough. Just do your stuff. If you meet the light requirements,
do your stuff.
Yeah, do your stuff.
That's on a shirt.
That's your next shirt design, Dan. It's not that tough.
That's the name of your album. I think.
The next shirt I have is "Be kind, have fun, get shit done." So basically, those are the rules of my LFG and Discord purposes. So
yeah.
But
okay, all right. Yeah. So if just to play devil's advocate,
sure.
Because this is a new experience for me as a PvP main, I'm not used to seeing the other side, and nor am I interested. So bear with me here. If you're saying Destiny isn't that hard mechanically,
if I can solo a dungeon, if me personally can solo a dungeon,
but you're a no life content creator, right? So
no, I got a job, I got other stuff, I got a girlfriend, I have a family that wants to see me occasionally. I haven't seen them in a while, but like. Okay. You got other stuff going on, but if you got 3 hours,
there's always I'll try and serious this up for sake of argument and discussion. Since for us who are dedicated Destiny players with varying degrees of hours in a week to try and improve, the fact is we dedicate our time to improve, and we will eventually overcome and find the right strategies, and then that process is ameliorated and accelerated through community, just through the community, talking and sharing ideas and videos and all that. But for the average Joe who isn't perhaps as well connected, who doesn't perhaps really care about data or as to cross, I know, sacrilege, I know, but who doesn't care about those guys and doesn't care to look it up, would Destiny still be considered particularly difficult for those people? Or is it just because we are stronger players together through our sense of community and our willingness to go forth and improve ourselves?
Well, if I can interject before Dan answers, I would say yes on both accounts. Because the people who are not that interested in the datos and the Aztecrosses and that kind of stuff, they're not running Grandmasters.
Blasphemous.
They're not doing trials. They're logging on to go run public events, to go do their weekly strikes, maybe a couple of pinnacles then and there, do the story stuff, and then they're out. They're the people who don't run Grandmaster Nightfalls and aren't interested in running Grandmaster Nightfalls. So I would say, it's probably still pretty easy for them. And when it comes to the notion of whether or not Destiny's an easy game, it is. And part of that is because the main mechanism for difficulty is the delta scaling. It's all about the level. When you're on level with content, even champions really aren't a problem to you. It's really. I ran a couple of Master Nightfalls because I wasn't going to bother running the Grandmaster Nightfall, and I'm about 13. A little around 1340 with artifacts and all that kind of stuff, and it was a walk in the park essentially. It's supposed to be super hard content, but once you reach that level, once you've pushed the number by your name up to that, you kind of eliminate some of the overarching difficulty that Bungie often relies upon. I mean, think about Master Vault of Glass that got dropped earlier in the month or whatever. How did they make it more difficult? Did they add new mechanics? No. Did they flood you with a bunch of new enemies? No. They just jacked up the power level of the enemies there. And that's the main conveyance for difficulty in this game. And once you kind of eliminate that, even the hardest content becomes pretty easy.
Yeah.
And I think they give you so many tools. Like, a lot of the exotic tools are just like, anymore, you get like a lot of gimmies, right? So like Witherhoard is a gimme. And like that's a
set with Breach and Clear.
Well, this season specifically, and it's I just don't think that like I see what you're saying here, because I think part of my ability to match things on light has come from me being like, okay, I need to grab every bounty that I can because that's
Yeah.
going to push my experience. And maybe not everybody does that all the time or like thinks about it. Overall, my playing per week probably have like, there's like 8, there's probably, I play probably 20 hours a week, something like that, generally on stream. And then outside of that, maybe an hour or two while I'm like editing the podcast. Please don't fire me. And so like, but it's at the end of the day, I find that if I watch videos on strategies, I can take certain things like movement, like how somebody moves. Like Esoteric is somebody that when I watch his videos, I'm like, okay, so I see where he kind of cut this section out, and I can easily do that, but I need to practice it, and I need to start running that. That I see as maybe like a little bit higher on that strategy level, or like that movement competency than maybe somebody who doesn't do any of that, doesn't engage with any of the content that the community creates. So, but there's just some things where it's like, Witherhoard's such a gimme. It like they just gave it to you, and if you have it, cool. You can still
lament.
And you don't really need to try too hard for weapons that will annihilate the competition. Even in VOG right now, like I don't even bother with the overloads, like with using overload on those things, because it's just like I think I was discussing this yesterday on Twitter, where it's like at a certain level you are the champion mod. and so like you're able to just do it through pure like force of will. But I don't know. I still think it's not that tough of a game once you get some of the mechanics down for it. It's just finding that in. And if you're not interested in finding that in, then it probably will be more difficult for you.
So I regret to inform you that whilst that was a very nuanced and lovely and well elucidated take, it was unfortunately a little bit too long for Twitter.
Okay.
So it's invalid.
Okay, that's perfectly
invalidated.
Fine. I'll just write it in a tweet longer later. It'll be fine.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, there will be ads along the side, and people can click.
Sure. Yeah.
As long as you title it with "It's time to tell the truth about Destiny."
Ah, God damn it!
It's got to be something overly dramatic.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
I've got something to share. ...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just that's how Destiny is for me anymore. And I don't hate the game for it. Like,
you're just a veteran.
Yeah, you've just been there long enough. You're like, okay, this guy's gonna stomp, and then I can use my sword real quick to negate any
things you pick up. Yeah.
So, yeah,
makes sense.
There's the long and the short of
it. Well, all right. I mean, I think that pretty much covers the lion's share of the crossplay stuff, right?
Yeah, there's going to be text chat.
Oh yeah, that's coming later. What, in winter?
Yeah, in the winter. The voice chat is something that they're also working on.
Yeah,
and they didn't want it to like keep folks from being able to experience crossplay, so they're chugging it in for later. Early season 15, we're going to get the Bungie name, the cross-platform invites, multiplayer matchmaking, and then player search and social privacy. Soon after launch, we get cross-platform voice chat. In the winter, we'll have Bungie name changes, text chat display on consoles, text input via USB keyboards on consoles.
That'll be huge.
Text chat display on consoles is going to be particularly nice for accessibility. People hard of hearing, people who are, who are more visual learners, that sort of thing, like doing call outs and assigning oracles or plates or whatever. Like, have you ever seen a run or a stream from hearing impaired guardians, like doing raids? It's insane. They're melting overloads and wyverns left, right, and center, whilst also
Yeah.
finding the time to just type in, okay,
Mhm.
this down, 6, 7, 9. They code everything so it's quicker input. It's the level of communication is so efficient that it's insane.
Yeah, you know, I
So
remember
I'm
watching.
yeah, go on.
Good. No, you good.
No, I was just gonna say I'm just excited for consoles to have
Mhm.
that tool for them.
Yeah, I was going to say I remember watching a group with a hearing impaired player finish Vault or not Vault of Glass, but the Vault in Last Wish, and that was incredible. The amount
Oh,
the
yeah.
speed with which they were typing out
Yes.
instructions there was like while destroying everything in sight was had just me like, oh, I suck at this game. I truly
And
suck
that
at
is a
this game.
hard encounter. Like
It's
that's
a
one of the
hard
hardest
encounter.
raid encounters ever.
Yeah. That was mind blowing to me. Like I can't believe I suck this much at this game.
Yep.
It was incredible. So yeah, that's going to be having text chat on console is going to be big.
Yeah.
Very big.
So, other than that, everybody's favorite pastime, the Iron Banner, is coming back next week.
Yay! Oh boy. Thanks, Salad Man.
Yes.
I feel like that kid from the meme, just like
Mm-hmm.
not really smiling, just like
Cool.
so. Yep. All right. Yep,
That's
nice.
talk about something in need of huge fundamental change. Iron Banner.
Iron Banner. Hmm.
Mm.
I think we just
Mhm.
Hmm.
the Iron Banner needs a big change.
Yeah.
More than just aside from everything we talked about with objectives and Slayer and all that. The reward system. Come on.
Yeah.
Please. Stop it. Get some
Stop it.
stop
Get
it.
some help.
Get some help.
Well,
Like it's already bad enough that, you know, the new weapons, Finite Impactor, Occluded Finality, and Reese Walker, they're and Archon's Thunder, I suppose.
Mhm.
All of them are meta-ish, if not meta
Ish.
in certain
Yeah.
respects. And all of them have very interesting perk pools, but you're locked in a perk pool including all the armor and like Time-Worn Spire and Fool's Remedy and a couple of Forward Path and a couple of other weapons as well. And there's RNG upon RNG upon RNG, which is not a fun time for anybody.
Not good.
You know?
And it's, you know, they're going to be the only concrete change I know of for Iron Banner that we're going to be getting, maybe not necessarily in season 15, but in the future, is that Bungie said they're going to be changing up the way Saladin's reward system works to be somewhat like Lord Shax's right now. So that type of reputation system they have there, which is whatever. But the core problem here is that you can't grind towards the specific rewards that you want. And Bungie already has a system in place for that. What's that?
Lady Aphrodite.
Lady Aphrodite. She had they had that system back in D1. We've got, you know, somewhat of a weird system with it with like the Umbral Engram focusing system.
Yeah.
There needs to be a way to target your loot grind in basically a lot of different activities, not just in this. Dan, you talked about this last week. You want a way to target your pinnacle loot grind so that you stop getting a class item every single week from doing your strikes or whatever. And that needs to happen across the board, but I think more than anywhere else in Iron Banner. Super frustrating. That's just one of the problems with Iron Banner.
I see they're trying to flatten a lot of the systems into like the same system, so you know what to expect when you're going into something.
Yeah.
But Iron Banner does need work. I don't know exactly what I'd do with it to like make it better at this point, other than game modes. But that's it. Game
modes, put in either an Umbral system or a Deep Stone chest system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something which allows us to make our rewards deterministic. Like, what is the point of playing Iron Banner over Control? Literally, the idea that you can maybe farm for weapons, maybe. And even then, it's not a for sure thing. Like, the only reason people play Iron Banner, 2 reasons. 1, Pinnacles. 2, the loot pool is significantly better than the Crucible loot pool. So it's sort of a gimme. Like, Control's dead. Trials tends to be much lower in population as well. All the casuals casuals, quote unquote, are in Iron Banner. And honestly, I would have one Umbral system for both Shax and Saladin. just under different banners, like you saw with the Prismatic Recaster, like past season, current season.
Yeah,
exactly.
Iron Banner. But like, yeah, it's more about the reasons people play, right? I don't think anybody wants to play Iron Banner Control, for Christ's sake. Like
Yeah.
the Iron Banner
No.
Clash or Iron Banner Countdown, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Iron Banner Supremacy. I remember when that was a thing. That was fun.
Yeah. Until it was
Anything
like
would be better
every
than
other.
Like, or
Yeah.
a wild idea.
Okay.
Different game mode every day.
Yeah.
Hey, heck yeah.
Why not
Iron
that?
Banner Mayhem.
That it blows my mind that that they haven't implemented something like that for Iron Banner. They've just stuck with Control year after year after year.
So this is the thing is Bungie know, so as a general rule, like Bungie knows the problems, or they hear about the problems, discuss the problems, and then come up with a solution for problems.
Yeah.
I think the Deepstone Crypt chest was the first real acknowledgement of like endgame loot,
Yeah.
and that being an issue. Grandmasters were a direct response to endgame not being challenging enough or not being meaningful enough, given the amount of seasonal mods, artifact mods, all of that. Like, what's the point? And the answer is Grandmasters, and then Master Vogue by extension. So it really perplexes me to sit here, it doesn't sit right with me logically to sit here and say, yeah, they haven't done anything.
Right.
Like they haven't addressed anything. So, given Bungie's past history with respect to their entire game, not just PvP, I am very optimistic that something huge is coming. But I don't know what that is, and I don't know if I'm completely wrong. But given the track record of Bungie acknowledging community concerns and then saying, hey, this is a problem, you all said there's a problem, so we're fixing and doing this. It's got to be something for Crucible, right? I mean, there has to be, because otherwise I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'll have wasted 2 years making Crucible videos for no reason. You know, like there has to be something. I'm just hoping at this point.
I'd imagine there is. I mean, you're right. Given all the advancements they've made in the loot departments of other parts of the game, there's got to be something. Got to be something that they're working on in the future.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's very depressing. Every time you talk about Crucible, Iron Banner, it's just like, yeah, okay, same thing. Let's hope there's something. Yeah.
I think we have this conversation every month. We're just like,
Yeah, around this time too.
So,
but either way, I think that pretty much puts a cap on all the news we had to talk about this week.
again,
What do you guys say we move on into audience questions before closing out the show?
sounds
Absolutely.
good.
Right on.
We have 3 wonderful questions from 3 wonderful human beings who decided to ask them. So let's get into it. The king of questions, Gaming Greyfox 2K30. For Nomad, is there a suggested mode to try out any Crucible tips or to get better? Also, if you could bring back Crucible Labs, what would you want in that node?
Ooh, love it. Okay. So, with respect to getting better in Crucible, like Rumble is the ultimate get good playlist.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, shooting people. Fine. But 5 people are trying to kill you and only you all at once. That's going to test your situational awareness. That's going to test your ability to win ones effectively. Like, it's all well and good being able to win your ones, but if you take 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds to kill somebody, and that's usually because they're not aware or they're missing their shots too, that doesn't count. That's not good enough. You have to be able to kill close to your optimal time to kill, which most guns is under a second, in order to have any sort of success. And you also have to be completely aware of the flow of the map, the flow of the spawns. You have to move around the map and also stay alive, which is a lot harder than people think it is.
Yeah.
Control is still the best way to introduce yourself to the Crucible. It's the best way to pick up fundamentals. It's the safest place to solidify your fundamentals, because not only are there 6 enemies, so you have a plethora of targets, but you have 5 teammates alongside you, which gives you that buffer. So you don't have to take any fight you don't want to. And you can choose to be as destructive or as passive as you so wish. So if you're struggling, you're a 0.5 or below Control. If you're a 0.8, 0.9, and you want to go to the next level, Rumble it is. And then If you want to be a god, if you're a 1.3, 1.4, try solo comp. See how well you manage to read the radar and read the game and all that. Because, quite honestly, freelance comp is as much about damage limitation as it is about you being offensively excellent. Because you have to assume in freelance comp that your teammates are idiots. And it usually translates. You go in there with that expectation, you will never be disappointed. So you learn to play around your teammates, you learn to read the radar, you learn to keep track of the game. You basically you learn to become this overseer that can read any situation. So that's what freelance comp is good for. And then you go to trials if you want to just, confirm that everything you know is just not good enough, because that's just the state of trials right now. Anyways,
Trials to be punished.
what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
The second part of the question was, well, I gotta find it now. It was also, is there any if they could bring back Crucible Labs, what would you want in that node?
Right. Okay. I think a no supers, no abilities mode would be really cool.
Oh boy, yeah.
Just pure gunplay. I think that would be very, very interesting. I would also love it if they had some sort of locked loadout mode. You remember Prestige, Leviathan? Something like that. But what I would love more than anything is to be able to pick up weapons and just like you start you start with, let's say, I don't know, a Kvostov and a Hidden Earth, like green, white. And basically you pick up weapons, and based on the kills you get, it basically turns into sort of like a gun game, like from CSGO. You could do it like that. Or you could give everybody a bog standard loadout, and then you pepper in random drops throughout the map, and then it becomes a power play for those weapons. And you could also add like RNG to those drops too. So you might get, you might have a Kvostov and Hidden Earth, but then the Frozen Orb drops, but it's firmly planted Vorpal, So, so that could be something interesting. Like, I would love them to just dial up the creativity and just go wacky and ham and break the game and what we expect from it.
That would be really interesting, especially that last idea. It's almost kind of like going back to Bungie's roots as a Halo arena shooter. You drop in with a generic loadout and there's weapons scattered across the field. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's not a particularly original idea, but it works and it continues to work, so why not?
Hey, the wheel still works, man.
Yeah,
true.
So this isn't a question from the audience, but did you guys get to plan a chance to play the Halo Insider flight? Like, oh no,
was not invited. I'm mad about it. I hate it. I've been playing Halo since Halo 2. Did not get invited. And I'd like to lodge a complaint, and I want my money back. Thank you, and good night.
Right on. I didn't either. I didn't even know it was going to be a thing, so I didn't sign up for it or any of that.
Yeah.
I only found out about it afterwards when Nim came to me and he's like, "Hey, look at all this footage I got from the Halo thing." And I'm like, "The Halo what?"
Pardon?
Oh, this is happening. But it looks like it's fun. I've been hearing nothing but good things about it. Like, it's just a good classic Halo 2 style arena shooting experience, which is what I want.
Yeah.
Axie Ashcrofts asks, that's a lot of A's. What would everyone like to see from the Trials rework? And there's one thing that you could change about the comp playlist progression right now. What would it be? You're getting all the spicy questions today.
I have two things.
Okay.
I want to see how this ranked trials thing works out. I'm really curious about that. I think separating matchmaking pools is a smart idea to get more people in. But I'm also curious to see what that means for the top end players like myself who stack with very good players. Are we going to be punished unnecessarily just for playing with our friends? And what happens if we want to do helps? What happens to our average ranking and all that? Like, can we even do helps, or is it going to be one of those things where like PC and console immediately gets matched with PC? Like, if you're a 5500 and a 3300, you just match all the 5500. So I'm curious about that
question.
But the number one thing by far is more accessible loot, proper engram system, and for the love of God, let us keep our tokens. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like, that's bullshit. Sorry, pardon my French, but that was the one thing that I've never agreed with. It's just
wiping
gone.
that on a weekly basis is dumb.
It is very dumb.
No, for the most part, I pretty much agree. My issue there with trials is the reward structure. You know, it's part of the big problem of trials is the population numbers. The population numbers are suffering because of really two big things: cheaters and rewards. And those are two things that Bungie's gotta get figured out. So that's what I'm most looking forward to seeing change. That's what I think would make the biggest impact.
For sure.
Yeah, Hot Rod kind of added to that question, like, why didn't they just bring trials from D1 to D2 the way that it was?
Reasons. Well,
Reasons.
because we had Trials of the Nine, and that was
Yeah.
interesting for a while. It had basically the same loot structure, but it was severely unfun to play because Destiny was not a Halo type shooter, and to begin with, 4v4 slow TTK and all that. It was
That was
well
a
designed,
mistake.
but it was not what people wanted.
It's not what we want.
And then when they had the opportunity to bring Trials back, they brought out something worse than D1, which is astounding.
Yeah.
The other part of that, what would you change about comp? Was
Well,
that the other part?
if there's one thing that you could change about the comp playlist progression right now, what would it be? I mean, you did a whole video on how.
Well, yeah. So basically, make it uncapped ranks so that there's like honor and
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Uncapped ranks. Add in more playlists so that there's like skirmish, rift, salvage, whatever. But give them their own 0 to 5500 or 0 to whatever rank you want. But the rewards stop at 5500, and then everything else becomes extra. In my video, I also said, create playlist specific universal ornaments.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the skirmish set, you have the clash set, you have all of that. Rift set.
Absolutely.
So more loot and more deterministic loot. And I think the biggest thing out of all of that, the easiest one they can implement right now, rank floors, so you never go down. Once you cross a threshold, once you cross Fabled, Mythic, Legend, you're guaranteed to never drop underneath that, no matter what happens.
No, completely agree. I think the problem with comp is, well, there's a lot of problems with comp, but one of the biggest ones right now is you get to max, there's no incentive to stay in that playlist. You get out.
Hey, you don't like no distractions on your Mida?
Yeah, all of that I think would serve because they need to give you a reason to stay in the comp playlist and to keep trying to raise that rank. Uncapping it, I think, because it's supposed to be something you flex with. It's supposed to be something you show a level for. That's how it worked in Halo. That's how it worked in Call of Duty. No idea why it's not the way it works here in Destiny. I think those would be fantastic changes.
Final question for the night. Barry asks, with Iron Banner being a slightly improved version of Control, what Iron Banner version of Clash or Supremacy would you like to see? How would you change it to improve it?
Oh, how would you change for Iron Banner? Clash, I think you should have more points added to your team depending on what streak you're on.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
So let's say at 5x 5 streak, your points count for double. At 10x streak, they count for triple. At 20x streak, they count for 4. 50x streak, they count for 10. I don't know, but then you scale up the total point scale. Instead of 200 or 150, you take it to 200, 300, and then you make it instant respawns so people don't spend any time away from the action.
Yeah, keeping people in the fight. Allowing those who are doing well to see a tangible benefit from doing well, and you're giving the other team a target.
Yeah,
that guy's on a 10-kill streak. He's going to blow us out in the next 2 minutes if we don't stop him.
Also, get rid of mercies. It's Iron Banner. It's supposed to be no mercy.
Yeah, it's kind of
which would make it severely unfun for people who aren't, on the right team. But Iron Banner is just from a lore perspective and from a Saladin perspective, I suppose it's about never giving up. It's about going in there. It's supposed to be the harshest of the harshest fire of Crucible. So no mercies, no second chances. You're in there. You're locked in there, and if you quit, penalty.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's more than fair, and there's not much more that I would add to that in order to improve Iron Banner. I think it's a little interesting, the question. Is Iron Banner Control an improved version of Control? That's
Not
weird.
really. No.
I didn't think that. But I would agree with a lot of what you said there. You want to keep people in the fight, so that respawn timer needs to be a lot faster.
But
And then
obviously, you incentivize them by having better loot or better token
Mhm.
yeah,
drops or better everything. Like make it worth their while.
make it worth their while. They're going to be changing up the reward system. Hopefully, that means if they're going to be continuing with like having Iron Banner tokens, maybe getting more tokens when you're on a win streak. We know they're adding streak bonuses to strikes and all that kind of stuff moving forward. I'd like to see that happen. And then you don't want games going on too long, so I wouldn't for game modes like Supremacy, I wouldn't increase the score too much, but maybe a small increase to the overall
Or
score
what
there.
what you could do instead is instead of a score limit, you put a time limit. So every game ends in 8 minutes or it ends in 10 minutes, no matter what happens.
Yeah, that could work.
I think 8 minutes probably makes more sense because a lot of games, like the standard timer right now is 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
obviously not a lot of games go to 10 minutes. They end a little bit earlier.
Right.
So then make it a hard limit of 8 and see
8 minute
happens.
timer that you can end faster if you get to a point limit, while
Yeah.
taking out a lot of the waiting for respawn timers makes a fast kinetic game mode, sort of like I think Mayhem doesn't have a respawn timer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, I think that would work. Anything to make the experience faster and more rewarding.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'd agree with that.
And that's all the questions that are fit to print.
Well, that's all she wrote then. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that brings us to the end of episode 287 of the Planet Destiny podcast. This has been a fun one. Very special thanks to our guest, the one and only Ascendant Nomad, the Crucible Doctor himself. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Once again, thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
No, absolutely. It was great to have you here. You've got a lot of really great insight on the inner workings of Crucible and hopefully some of the things that could potentially benefit it moving forward. And really great to have you on tonight. Would love to have you on again in, how long did it take to book this? 6 months?
Yeah, something like
Year?
that.
Yeah, I think
Hey, that wasn't my fault though. That was all Dan.
that's all big thumbs Dan right here.
So I'll come on next week, but I know you guys got a full slate.
Well, I mean,
so.
I don't think we have a guest next week, so.
Okay, no, give it a couple of weeks.
all right.
Start booking in advance.
Figure something out.
Yeah.
But again, it was fantastic having you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And of course, before we get out of here, we do want to give you the opportunity to let the audience know where they can find you all across the internet. So if you would take the floor.
Sure. So you can find me as AscendantNomad on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Though I just want to say, like the people wanting to talk about this community, people want to talk about PvP and I don't know how many people you've had PvP centric on this podcast, but I just want to say that we're not all bad.
Right.
It may be easy to characterize us as emotional, immature, perhaps a little bit lacking in clarity of thought or empathy, but honestly, there are good people out there, there are good communities out there, and if you're interested in becoming better at PvP, then all you have to do is look, and you'll find somebody who will help you.
Right on. Make sure you guys go and check them out, and remember to keep those words in heart. And remember, 2-second rule. Be aware of your surroundings. Keep moving. Keep moving. Situational awareness, advantageous positioning. That's what it's all about.
Can I add one more?
Sure.
One more?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. One final rule that I always leave to all my students at the end of anything is you are only as good as your commitment to getting better.
Ooh.
That is it. That's literally all it comes down to.
That goes on.
If you're not
plaque.
interested, if you're not interested in driving, you'll never be a good driver. If you're not interested in food, you'll never be a good cook. If you're not interested in growing facial hair like Dan Finity, why are you buying beard oil products? Like, come on, get better genetics. Like,
I mean, my genetics are trash, but yes. Oh, sure.
But you made
Keep
it work because
complimenting
you
me.
had a commitment. You had a commitment to getting better with the beard, and I mean, just generally in life, like anything. It's sort of a different version of you can do whatever you set your mind to, but no, it goes deeper. It's like you're only as good as your commitment to getting better, and that's
absolutely
in my philosophy for most things in life, and it's worked out ish so far.
No, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And if I can add one thing to that, is it really shows in your YouTube channel. You decided to go full time not too long ago. You put a commitment to it. You're committed to getting better, and I'd say you've done pretty well.
Thank you so
It's
much.
looking pretty good.
Thank you.
So make sure you guys go and check out Ascendant Nomad all across the interwebs. But all right, before we get on out of here, Dan, where you at, man?
Oh, hi. My name's DanFinity. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok at DanFinity, where the I's are L's. You can find me on Twitch 3 days a week, twitch.tv/DanFinity. The Beardo podcast has had some pretty incredible guests over the past few months.
Yeah.
And I hate to disappoint you with an Ask Me Anything this week, but I'm going to have to do it. So, yeah, we're putting that out. There's all sorts of stuff I'm working on, constantly fidgeting with. So that's pretty much it.
Ask him uncomfortable questions.
Please do. I'll answer them honestly.
I want to know Dan's underwear size and preferred color. Is he a boxer guy, a brief guy?
I'll get
boxer
pictures
briefs?
I'll get pictures out.
Oh,
I'll wave them on screen. Just not
I
here.
thought you only put pictures of your fan on the OnlyFans.
Oh! I do that here too.
That's right. Look, it's on it. Look, your camera's defocusing it. It's censored because only on the OnlyFans, baby. That's what the OnlyFans is for.
Thanks, NVIDIA.
There you go. It knows. It understands what's up.
Apologies to everybody listening on Stitcher. You can go back and watch the YouTube video for context. So I assume you're better off not.
No, we do
doing
side
that.
gags here. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Better left to the imagination. And of course, my name is The Black Link. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at The Black Link. The usual stuff this week. If we get some Destiny news and whatnot, it'll be going up on the Planet Destiny YouTube channel at youtube.com/Planet Destiny. But all right, everybody, that is it for episode 287 of the Planet Destiny podcast, your guide to this week in Destiny. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next week. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Catch you on the next one. Bye.